So the news is in. Thanks to everyone who tweeted me, emailed me, commented on the videos, sent me carrier pigeons. Clearly people like the chat about Joseph Parker at the minute. Like, if I discuss Joseph Parker, I seem to get more hits on my videos, I seem to get more comments. These are all good things. So I'm happy to talk about him and happy to keep the momentum going. Kyoto Fujimoto has pulled out of the fight with Joseph Parker. Apparently, his promotional team, Tupou, said that after he saw the performance against Saglam, he got in touch just to say he didn't want to fight. He didn't want more money. He just had a look at what he saw in Parker and didn't fancy it. And, I wouldn't fancy it either, sitting here from my sofa. But yeah, obviously that's very... it's not a good sign for Fujimoto and for his future career. Obviously, if he's not fancying the fight with Joseph Parker, he's probably not backing himself to be an elite level heavyweight. But looking at the tapes of him, maybe he's a guy who just knows his limitations. He didn't, to my eye, look like a guy with a great future ahead of him in terms of the capabilities and skills he showed in the ring. Team Parker have lined up a fight with Bowie Tupou, or Tupou, I don't know how you pronounce it, who is going to be the replacement instead of Fujimoto. I've seen this guy fight once or twice before. Must admit, not overly impressed by him. In advance of making this video, I have just rewatched the Malik Scott fight and the Bryant Jennings fight that this guy was in. Now, BoxRec rates him about 150th, something like that, in the world. To me, it's hard to rate him much better than that. He doesn't really have solid wins on his resume. He's beat like Manuel Cazeda. He's beaten a few guys like that I've borderline heard of, but he's not beaten anyone who's even remotely a B-class fighter. And he's got 3 losses on his record, all by stoppage. The Malik Scott fight, which to be fair, it was a stoppage loss, but he seemed to dislocate his elbow. Demetrius King, who I think also was the one who stopped Bermain Stavern, although I need to double check that, and Bryant Jennings. And the Bryant Jennings knockout was, quite a bad knockout. It was a sort of in close uppercut, laid him out on his back, and it was a heavy knockout. He's come back. He's had a few wins since. He went 10 rounds in his recent fight, so he's shown that he's capable of going late into a fight recently. I have heard that he's been in pretty dreadful shape and he's ballooned up in weight recently, which certainly isn't a good sign. What I'd say about this guy, and he clearly is someone who can be hurt, who can be knocked out. In my eyes, Bryant Jennings is not a massive puncher. I'll give you an example. If you look at Bryant Jennings versus Mike Perez compared to Alexander Povetkin versus Mike Perez, you see that a really big puncher in the heavyweight division like Povetkin could do that to Mike Perez. Bryant Jennings, he's not feather-fisted. He knocked out Arthur Spilka, he knocked out this guy. He's not feather-fisted, but he's not an elite level puncher. And he left this guy on his back, out for the count. So I do think that most likely, given the fact that this is a bout scheduled over, I presume, either 10 or 12 rounds, Parker, by stoppage, is going to be the selection. However, there's more to it than that. I'll be looking for things in this fight. For me, Bowie Tupou, as an opponent, is very, very limited offensively. In terms of his attack, he's 6'2", he's a heavy guy, he's relatively stationary, he's not the smartest technician in the world. Expect to see him trying to rush in, expect to see him throwing wide punches, looping punches, not particularly coordinated technical work here. What I would like to see Parker do for the first couple of rounds is use the blueprint that Malik Scott laid out. I'm not looking for Parker here to necessarily go in and try and blow this sort of guy away. It would be no bad thing to have 2 or 3 rounds doing what Malik Scott did, working behind the jab, moving, outmaneuvering. This guy is very easy to outmaneuver, to out-jab, to out-box. He's quite slow, relatively stationary, and I'd like to see Parker using lateral movement. I'd like to see him leading with the jab rather than leading with power punches. And really, that's where Parker's obvious advantages are going to show. He's younger, he's fitter, he's more athletic, he's got better technique. He does also hit a lot harder, but I think we leave that to rounds 3 and rounds 4, and then you try and, get this guy out of there. But I think early on, Parker should work behind his jab, try and be responsible, try and be, really stick behind his boxing. As I say, this guy can get hurt, this guy can get knocked out. And I think this will be a test of Parker's defence, in the sense that I don't rate this guy offensively whatsoever. So if he's landing on Parker, if he's having effectiveness, and if he's having spells where he's scoring points and scoring shots against Parker, that is going to give me concerns, because this is a guy that Parker should really be able to school. And that's based on him before he's blown up in weight, so it's be even easier if he's now blown up in weight. Yeah, I don't rate this guy as a competitive fighter at Parker's level. I think Parker really should be able to get through this with relative ease, trying to avoid a war, trying to avoid getting hit, and I want to see a defensively responsible performance here. If that happens, then I'm fairly confident the knockout will come. Parker will be able to find the gaps. One thing I noticed about this guy, he's very easy to hit to the body. Very easy to hit to the body. Malik Scott was throwing a nice jab to his body. Bryant Jennings was throwing hooks down there. If Parker can keep the fight at range, work off the jab, keep the guy's defences high by jabbing to the head and then drop to the body, we could see him hurt Tupou in that way. That's just my point of view. Is it a step forward in terms of opponent? Maybe. I understand he's rated highly with one governing body. To be honest, I haven't watched his complete back catalogue, but based on what I've seen, he's not got much to worry a guy like Joseph Parker. What I'll be looking for Parker to do is put him in a performance here that makes him look in a favourable light compared to the likes of Malik Scott, compared to the likes of Bryant Jennings. Neither of those guys are huge punchers for the heavyweight division, so let's see if he can go one better than them, but let's see if he can put on an equally defensively responsible performance as Malik Scott. Essentially, that's what he's going to need to do if he wants to make it to the top level. Let me know your thoughts. How do you rate this fight compared to Fujimoto? How do you see it going? I'm Parker by stoppage. I'll be picking rounds 3 to 5 for the stoppage. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.